Perfect. All right, guys, welcome in. Really excited for this one. We've got Coach Ben Kanute with us as he heads into Ironman Texas in, geez, 48 hours, man. It's a
Yeah.
great opportunity to hear how a coach and pro at the highest level is really thinking in early season racing, especially in the heat, and how that translates into everything he's doing. So, Ben, appreciate you taking the time, man. Let's start big picture. You're heading into Ironman Texas with you've already got your KQ.
hmm
So how are you approaching, this next 48 hours? What's your focus right now?
I mean, just having fun, a little bit relaxing, getting stuff organized, and
Yeah.
just basically you're killing time, having fun, waiting for the gun to go off. Because I mean, honestly, there's not much left to do. Maybe a short little swim bike run,
Mhm.
but that's yeah. Today was like a mini workout, mini brick, and less than a 2K swim. So had a lot of other things to fill my time, but at the end of the day, then if you're used to training 4 to 8 hours a day, you're kind of like, what am I doing with my time here?
I noticed that spending time with you in Oceanside pre-race, I was like, man, he is just running around nonstop. And then like late in the evening, he's like,
Always.
I'm gonna go get a swim in. I was like, dude, we should eat dinner. Like, I'm gonna go get
Yeah.
a swim in.
Yeah. No, well, I can't say that was because I didn't want to, I wanted to swim in the ocean, but at the same
Yeah.
time, just, I love that pool that's there too. But no, I mean, I think with the start of the North American season, Oceanside was extra busy just with people wanting to connect, brands wanting to do some stuff to activate. It's such a good place. Like the expo, they've done a great job there. Here,
Yeah.
it's a little bit more like they have the race briefing for the pros 2 days out because tomorrow is all bike check in and that sort of thing. And they give us a little bit more time to get things sorted before the race. So, yeah, I think today was more of a busy day, just kind of getting settled because I just got in last night as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Well, look, I really want to get into the dynamics of this race. I know, just knowing you, like you love big races. We don't need to talk about the hype of the race. We know it's arguably the biggest race outside of Kona, like maybe even
Mhm.
bigger. We don't know. I mean, Kona's a long way away. So, how do you approach racing an Ironman in the heat this early in the season, particularly now living in Colorado, when you may not have full exposure yet?
Yeah, I think there's a big emphasis on people doing heat training and running in garbage bags, sitting in super hot saunas and spending lots of time doing that or hot water baths. And there's a benefit to that, to getting your core temp high. And, especially if you're not at altitude, it's kind of the poor man's altitude to train in the heat because your blood plasma, like it increases and you get similar benefits to racing at altitude. But when it comes to actually racing in the heat, it's basically like for any given pace, you're outputting more energy, basically. So you either have to like eat more and drink more or slow down a little bit. And I think in
Mhm.
general, in the heat, you have to just slow down. So I just use the example because I was there in Kona in 24 racing when Patrick was, flying through the course. I think he was in, and we've seen this before with him because he's such a good runner. I think he was in more like 228, 230 shape there, but he ran a 235, 236, somewhere in there. So your pace is just slower. And that's not even
Mhm.
taking into account like any hills and that sort of thing. But you just have to keep the heart rate low and the effort as low as possible so you don't break through that heat ceiling.
Mhm. And does that preservation start in the water, or are you going to hit it with that front group to kind of establish your position on the bike?
I think it's all about making the right choices throughout. So being able to insert myself, like going a bit harder to try and find some feet will pay off in the long run.
Mhm.
So, because once you get the feet, especially in an Ironman swim, it's just significantly easier, especially if you have your own space versus going out slow and me trying to fight my way through a bunch of people. So I might use a couple of my matches to get toward the front in that top 5 or 10 people and then sit in a little bit.
Mhm.
But again, it's like, I mean, it's a cliche and an analogy that everybody uses, but you have a matchbox with a certain amount of matches. So you just want to be able to save as many as possible for the end of the race, but you're going to have to use them throughout to try and keep yourself in it.
Totally. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'd love to dive a little bit deeper into just fueling in the heat and the
Yeah.
specifics, but Do you adjust your carb intake, your fluids, your sodium, or all three during a race like Saturday?
Yeah. Well, I think I'm sticking with something that, I mean, I'm sticking with what has worked through the first
Okay.
two races. Like my 70.3s, I've basically done 100 grams of carbs per bottle on the bike and then picked up a gel, like kind of just in there to go. So I've been about 100 to 125 grams max per hour on the
Hmm.
bike. So
Hmm.
that's about what I'll shoot for as well in Texas. Um, they'll basically all my bottles will be at about 100 grams, depending on the size of them, and they're fairly large, so I'll get a decent amount of fluid in at the same time. And I just try and hit at the bare minimum that 80 to 90 to make
Yeah.
sure that I'm in the ballpark of replacing some of the carbs. But the high end that I would shoot for is that 125 grams. But I really feel like my sweet spot is that 100, give or take. So I'll kind of stick to that for a good portion. And as I go in, I'll know like, okay, is my stomach feeling good? Yes. Okay, take more carbs. If my stomach isn't feeling good, okay, adjust, take more fluid in just because you'll want to stay on that fluid. But like, I kind of know I have a really good fat metabolism. So I can kind of fall back on that. And my philosophy too is like, high carb is great, but if you feel sick, like you're going to go slower than if you took in a bunch of high carbs.
Yeah. And so when you get that cue of bubble gut or like you just start to burp, are you obviously you can't drop your heart rate because you've got to maintain position. What are you doing at that point? Are you just getting fluids like water in?
Yeah, well, a lot can depend on, like you said, like the race dynamic. Like if
Hmm.
we're going at it and,
Hmm.
this could be maybe a surge or something that can definitely affect digestion. So maybe it's just trying to take it down, see if we hit an aid station, switch to water for a little while.
Hmm.
I find if I switch to water for a period of time and maybe mix in a little bit of carbs, my stomach starts to settle down. So I think that it's something I've just practiced and I've practiced in because I work with Scott at Fuelin. I practice pushing a lot of carbs when
Right.
I have the opportunity to. So in zone two stuff, a lot of times. And it's more that hours like 3 through 5 or even 6 when I'm out there. Like the first couple hours, I could crush over 125 grams because you just are fresh out of the water. You're feeling good. You might be thirsty. So the drink is going down easy. But as I get into it, then it's like, okay, I just have to be a little bit more mindful because there is nothing worse than like getting out onto the marathon just feeling like sick. So that's kind
Yeah.
of what I'm trying to just go back and forth with. Um, and also like you said, like the heat too. Like if it's just blazing hot, it will just be like trying to get more watered down stuff or even like I work with Good Life Nutrition, but the
Hmm.
Martin gels on course have been like I think they settle really pretty well for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Follow up on that. We also work with Scott, obviously, as you know.
Yeah,
So could you walk us through maybe how you use the sweat testing to kind of implement a hydration and sodium plan and what products you like to use to hit? Obviously, you mentioned Good Life, but what are you
yeah.
using to hit those benchmarks and what numbers actually matter
So I've
to age
done,
groupers just
yeah.
applicably?
I think the biggest number is the sodium. So
Mhm.
like getting a sweat test done where you can have like the amount of sodium that you're losing per hour per liter. Basically, that's pretty much locked in for the most part forever. From my understanding, it really doesn't change that much. So like Precision Hydration does it. I've gotten it tested, at the OTC. Like there's a lot of different places that are now offering that. Even
Mhm.
like there's some devices now I think that might measure like the concentration of your sweat.
Yeah.
So that stays relatively the same, and that gives you a good gauge for how much sodium I should take in per hour or per liter. And
Yeah.
I'm a relatively low to moderate sodium sweater. So even if my rate is relatively high, I don't have to worry too much about sodium. In
That's
fact, I
great.
try
Yeah.
I try not to add too much to it because it's just something extra to absorb. So like I sweat about 600-ish, give or
Mhm.
take 100 milligrams like per, I forget if it's per hour or per liter, but that basically any drink that you have, if you're going high carb, you're basically getting at least that amount.
Mhm.
So that I think is just important because if you're sweating 1500 milligrams like per liter or per hour, that's a massive amount. And then you'll want to replace those electrolytes or take salt pills or something like that. Um, and then as far as like the fluid, I think knowing your sweat rate is good. I also think like it's just the way that I concentrate my bottles is if I'm basically getting those down, which is about my carbs that I need per hour, I should
Mhm.
be in the range of my hydration.
Yeah.
And some of that, like I didn't do a whole bunch of sweat testing before this race because either I would probably be overdoing it because I'd be overdressed, or it's just not hot enough yet. So in the summer, I'll start to do it a lot more. And right now, it's basically, I think the bottles that I have are about a liter. So it'll be have like 4-ish liters, 3.5, 4 liters on the bike. And I'll
Yeah.
pick up some water as I go along because I'm always thirsty, honestly. Like I usually don't. I'm usually not like forcing myself to drink. I'm usually like, I need more to drink here in
Yeah.
hot
Yeah.
races.
Yeah. Awesome. Let's shift gears a little bit and talk equipment specifically for this race. So obviously first Ironman of the year. What changes do you make equipment wise for a warm weather race like Texas in terms of kit and cooling strategies, helmet choice, managing body temperature on the course, things like that?
Uh, Almost, it'll be very minimal. I mixed up, like I added an extra bottle to my bike so
Yeah.
that I could carry more just because Texas as well, like Ironman, it's a two-loop course. If you're not self-sufficient, it can be a little dicey grabbing bottles on a course like this with the second lap having quite a bit of age groupers. Um, and then I use the Amius. I want to use the backwards hat, I think, for this one. So that's just one other thing that I'll kind of use. And then it's just honestly, spraying the water on yourself. Like, kits are pretty good in general at, keeping you cool. Like I use the Zoot P1X, I think it's called. So I've actually really enjoyed that one overall. It's kind of white as well, so not like super dark colored. But yeah, I think like it'll be warm here. I don't think it's going to be this extreme heat though that you might see on the Big Island, like maybe similar. But I think a lot of it kind of comes from pacing is the main thing with the heat. You can't do what you want to do necessarily. Like you
Yeah.
have to bring it back.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think as you initially said, you need to just lower the stress however you can do it. Um, awesome. I'd love to dive into your bike.
Yeah.
You mentioned your bottle strategy, but how are you setting up your bike in terms of accessibility and like how much do you think about aerodynamics? I think that's a discussion we have with our athletes all the time, that they want to be as aero as possible, but we also can't compromise fueling, right? Like you need to be able to access your bottles. So how have you found that sweet spot?
Yeah. So, well, for me overall, like I think, like as far as like being aerodynamic, like it's mixing that with a bit of comfort, but really it's how fast are you going on the course? Because I think that
Yeah.
goes back to some of the heat stuff. Is we all like the I want to push X amount of watts on the bike, and honestly, I wish I could push 200 watts on the bike and go as fast as I want because then I could run, like a 220 marathon off the bike instead of a 230, 235. So, um, I think there's one is that aspect is like speed is the main thing in the race. But then yes, you can't like I don't slam myself into a UCI type, 40K time trial position so that I can actually run off the bike. And then as far as the bottles, I've used the Easy Gains behind my saddle. And then I also have Wove's new like dual water bottle holder that's very similar to the Easy Gains like behind because I find that just raises it up a little bit and I can fit two bottles behind me, easy enough to grab and then replace up front.
Yeah.
And then I have two bottles between my arms. So those are the two places that I found with my bike specifically to be the most aerodynamic places and still be accessible. And I
Yeah.
don't have like a torpedo bottle or anything like that at the moment, just because I find like right now I'm just enjoying using like normal water bottles. I feel like it's more convenient for me, like easier to
Yeah.
kind of like force some fluid down versus trying to suck it out through a straw.
Yeah, totally. And then if you wanted to grab a water on course or
Yeah.
a bottle, you can just swap them. Um, are you doing anything different in terms of wheels or chain rings to, keep the speed up when if you guys have a tailwind coming down the toll road?
I have a 58 one by up front. I find that that's pretty good for most things. Like it was good enough. It's good enough up to because it's a 58-10, so
Yeah.
that gets you up closer to 45 miles an hour before you speed out or spin out. So I shouldn't have any issues there. And then I ride Princeton Carbon Works. So I'm riding their brand new disc and then their front wheel that's also brand new. Their TSV 3 now. So it's a tri-spoke. So tri-spoke with a disc behind, which should be super fast.
That's pretty fast. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Katamoto shoes.
Katamoto shoes as well. Yep.
Yeah.
That's
You go,
awesome to
you
have.
go sockless. I know you're a big sockless guy, but will you put on socks for the run or because it's a full distance, do you go sockless on the bike and then throw them on for the run or are you socks on the bike?
I'll still go sockless on the bike. I just
Yeah.
don't feel like I don't really get any chafing with those shoes at all.
Hmm.
Because obviously like you can mold them to your feet and they fit very well.
Hmm.
Um, So just for speed, ease of getting out, and I don't have any particularly like I've tested some Aero socks and calf sleeves, and they haven't been big enough gains for me to lose time in T1 to like the front guys. So I'll
Yeah.
just throw on a pair of socks getting off the bike.
Smart. Awesome. Well, it's a perfect transition, no pun intended, to the run.
Yeah.
How do you think about, I'm a shoe nerd and I believe you're still a shoe free agent. So how do you think about shoe selection when it comes to going from 70.3 21K to a marathon in terms of potential biomechanical breakdown, comfort versus performance? Are you wearing the same shoes for the full distance?
So I took the thinking out of it because I did all the testing beforehand. So I do
Yeah.
not. So I worked with Stride,
Mhm.
working on trying to release some Instagram stuff plus a YouTube breaking down how we did it exactly. Because I tested about six to up to almost eight different pairs of shoes in the lead up to racing this season. And the first thing we did was just toss out any ones that were like super mechanically unsound. Because honestly, like overall, most people are not going to be able to test metabolically. Like you might have some access to that at different labs and that sort of thing, but like the best way I think is through the Stride pod. So we did it outside, tested on a loop there, then took it into the lab with like my top three shoes that we
Mhm.
thought could work well for either 70.3 and mostly marathon, and then we tested those and they ended up being all really really similarly metabolically, which actually the New Balance for me ended up being the fastest. However, it wasn't as mechanically sound, so I'm going with the Hoka CLO XV3, whatever they've named their
Yeah.
shoe,
Yeah.
that their newest CLO, just because one, I really liked how the shoe felt, so that was great. I ran in Hokas for a long time, so I think my foot strike is just generally trended toward a Hoka shoe, and mechanically, it was the one of the more stable ones. So that gave me more confidence for like when you're coming off the bike and you're running for the back half of the marathon, should be able to hold it together better than, if you take the risk for like a couple minutes in the marathon, there's also the chance that you break down mechanically and then lose
Yeah.
those couple minutes anyways.
Yeah. Totally. And sorry if we mentioned this. Do you will put on socks for the marathon?
Yeah, I think I could probably do it without socks, but I just, it's just better to be safe than sorry. Take the extra 30 seconds for a marathon at
Yeah.
least, where,
Yeah.
for a half, I think it's a little bit more justifiable. 30 seconds is actually quite a lot more for a half marathon, I think. But for a
Mhm.
marathon, 30 seconds can be gone in, that 20th mile if you're limping a little from a blister.
Totally. Hey, I should have mentioned this in the fueling before we transition to just your mental strategy, but what are you carrying when you leave T2? I always see you leaving T2 with something.
I usually take a flask full of like Good Life, like 50
Uh-huh.
to 75 grams of carbs. I think
Uh-huh.
this time I'll probably have just 50. So it'll be slightly watered down. So it's like a little bit more palatable
Okay.
over it. And I probably will freeze them Just if they stay frozen, great. If not, like, they'll be maybe slightly cold.
Mhm.
Um, just something for in between aid stations. And then I'll pick up maybe a gel here or there. But I shoot more for like 60 to 80 grams of carbs on the
Yeah.
run, just
Mhm.
because I mean, I'm not somebody who can put down 100 grams on the run by any means.
Yeah, that makes sense. Cool. Okay. Yeah, I'd like to transition into a topic that, I think everybody can relate to, but it's just mindset. When things get really hard, as they always do, how do you know, mentally break down the race in terms of, man, this is really hard and I've got 6 more hours of racing to do or 7 more hours. Maybe you're 5 minutes into the swim and you're like, it's going to be a long day. How do you approach that internal dialogue?
Yeah, well, I think thinking about how long you have to go is probably not the
Mhm.
way. No, don't do that. Like, especially if you're in the swim, don't think like, because
Yeah.
it is a long day. I think basically the easiest thing is just break it down, like figure out what you're doing. And I think in that moment, just you kind of run that a bit of an equation. Okay, like, is this a pace that I can sustain? Okay, for how long? And then with that, like you adjust based on that. Because honestly, like in Ironman for the most part, like you should be relatively easy for the first half. Like it's not one of those where it's like a sprint or Olympic where I always like to make the comparison like a super sprint up to Olympic. It's kind of like getting shanked in the side. Never been shanked before, but it's kind of like I would imagine how getting shanked in the side is versus an Ironman is like if you had like a super thin needle that's just like a needling needle or something that's just being pushed in, you don't notice that it hurts until it's basically all the way in, and all of a sudden it's just like, oh my gosh, like things like really hurt right now. And then you just keep breaking it up smaller and smaller, but like you should at least be pushing off, like if you're feeling like you're breathing hard, heart rate's high, and you're on the first lap of a 2 lap bike or something, like obviously like you're just going too hard. Like
Yeah.
you're too far ahead. And same thing with the marathon, like if you aren't going out trying to like relax and cruise, then again, like it's too much at that moment. So I think it's more of a, for me at least, and with the race that's going on, I have to make a lot of evaluations of, okay, this is a hard moment right now, but like, why is it hard? How is it hard? And how long do I think that this is going to last too? Because like, if it's only going to be to the next aid station, that's not so bad. But if it's going to be for, the next 10K, maybe this is too
Yeah.
quick of a pace if I'm going out. Like, and I always like to say, like, you have so much data at your fingertips. Like when you're out on the course, you have heart rate, you have your pace or your speed on the bike, you could have your cadence on the bike or the run, power potentially on both. Like use all of those plus your RPE to make like educated guesses and kind of educated. What am I looking for? Just picking what you're going to do essentially. Like you can make very educated choices based
Yeah.
on all of that stuff for pacing, and that's just learned like basically from training. So and then it's, I mean, at the end of the day it's like a hard thing that we're doing, so it's going to be hard. It's just like, what kind of hard is this? Is this a pain hard? Is this a, I'm going too fast hard? Or is this a, I'm doing the right thing here, I just kind of need to suck it up hard?
Yeah. And I think a good course of action to take is just get some sugar. Chances are
Yeah,
if you feel irritable, cranky, or you just feel lousy, like
that's what
you
I was
probably
going to
need
say.
probably need a Coke. Like
I
just
had, yeah, I had somebody tell me once, if you ever feel like you're getting pissed off during an Ironman, like
yeah.
taking some carbs, you're
Yeah.
probably just hungry. It's like the
Yeah.
Snickers commercial. Like you're not
Yes.
feeling yourself. You're not your self when you're
Yeah.
hungry. Like eat a Snickers.
Yeah. Last one. Just going into experience and lessons. What number Ironman is this for you? Ben, five?
Oh, I was trying to figure it out. So I'm going to count it out loud here. So I did Arizona as my first,
Yeah.
then Roth, and then I didn't do any after that until 24, where I only did Kona. So that's
Right.
three. And then last year I did
Arizona.
Texas,
Oh
Frankfurt,
yes. Yeah.
Arizona. That was six. So this is number seven.
Okay. I undersold you. Apologies. So lucky number seven. That's a good ring to it.
Yeah.
Um, so obviously you're probably still learning in each race. Is there one thing that you can draw upon from your last full distance into this one?
Um, Pace, be
Pace.
patient,
Yeah.
put
Yeah.
yourself in a position to like race the last 10 miles of the marathon,
Mm,
basically.
yeah.
That's
Y-
yeah, that's it. I think throughout a lot of my career, I put the pressure or I felt the need to create situations. And I've talked about that. I've worked with a bunch of different mental coaches, psychologists, and stuff. But somebody right now, like we've just made the analogy too. It's like when you catch a ball, you let the ball come to you and you like catch it against your chest. If you stick your hands out and go for the ball to catch it, um, you're most likely going to drop it. So I think a lot of it is making correct choices throughout the race to just put yourself in a good position and being efficient overall. It's not about strong arming your way and forcing other people into submission. It's kind of there's like finesse to it.
mm. Yeah. That's really powerful. That's great. Um, mm. uh, yeah. To close, I guess you kind of answered it, but yeah, I was just going to ask for one lesson you pass on to pro athletes heading into the races. But dude, that was pretty
Yeah.
perfect. I tell athletes like the race doesn't start until mile 16 of the marathon, and yeah, it's
Yeah. Well, I mean,
pretty
it's honestly
pretty true.
like first off, you got to have fun. Like if you're stressing out about it, like, yeah, like you can get nervous. That's fine. I get nervous before my races too, but like have fun because this is the fun part. I saw a great, I want to watch this movie. It's brand new. It opens with, I want to say Robert De Niro. It's with a fighter.
Yeah.
And he's like, this is the fun part, like right before he's going out. And his whole mantra too is like, why do we train? Like I train so that I can breathe. I breathe so that I can think, and if I can think, then I can win. So that's what I think. Just like enjoy yourself race week. Like this is kind of the reward for all of the training. The training is the hardest part, and then yeah, I would say in an Ironman, especially in a half, just pace. We love as triathletes to just go extra hard and try and like flex our muscles. Um, but then yeah, it's like just relax a little bit, enjoy it, and save something for the back half of the swim, bike, and run.
Totally. And I think I'll echo that in saying like no matter how slow you think you're running out of T2 is probably way too fast. Like
Yeah.
almost always.
Yeah, exactly. I know that's going to be exactly like you'll watch this weekend. Everybody will probably run their fastest mile in the first mile, and it should probably be the opposite way. It should probably be your
Yeah.
slowest mile, and your fastest mile should be the last one. So, I mean, if you see me leading out of T2 and a gap is growing, like start calling people at the race and telling them like, tell Ben to slow down,
Uh-huh.
save it.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Hey Clay, did you have any specific questions for the race? How are you feeling? He may I don't think he was expecting me to ask him, but if he's uh can unmute himself. Clay just got in today from Phoenix.
Nice.
Give him a minute.
Well, well, he's if he's gonna take off mute and stuff, but I've been watching the weather a little bit. We have the potential for what I think is something that's really funny that could go down is if this cold front blows in early, we could
Yeah.
have the coldest Texas Ironman Texas in history. But I think it won't be so much for us as of right now what the weather's saying, but I do think for people who are going to be out there for like 12 plus hours, like especially as it starts to get dark. I'm homestaying with a guy here who coaches some athletes and is volunteering at the finish line. He's like, I'm telling all my athletes, like in their special needs, put a rain jacket, put some warm clothes or something in because it's supposed to rain and it drops down into like the 50s.
Yeah, that'd be cold. That'd be cold.
Yeah.
Uh, Clay, you got one? Thought I saw him unmute, but um, no, we're good. Okay. Look, man, appreciate your time. Best of
Yeah.
luck Saturday. We'll all be cheering and watching. So appreciate you taking the time tonight, and we'll record this. And or apologies, it has been recorded, so we'll post it in Discord. And yeah, I think it'll be a great resource for everybody.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. No worries. Thanks for having me on.
All right,
Happy
guys,
to do
appreciate
it.
it.
Yeah.
Good luck this weekend, Ben.
Go get them,
Thanks.
Ben. We got you, man.
Thanks. Appreciate it, guys.
See ya.
See you guys.
See ya.